My name is Matthew Smith. I'm the Director of Product for our Benchmark product line. If you have any questions throughout the conversation, please feel free to use the chat, and I'll try to address them during the presentation. And then at the end, I will unmute the phone lines, and we will be able to do some Q&A. If you have any questions, you can wait until then. I will answer your questions to the best of my ability at that time. So really, I want to talk a little bit about the wearables market in general. Lots of different form factors out there in the market. The market's been growing by leaps and bounds. So we've been seeing a lot of growth, and obviously you've heard a lot of growth around Fitbit, Apple, Garmin, Xiaomi in the marketplace. So lots of wearables coming into the marketplace. Also, the market has healthy growth. So despite what you've been hearing about Jawbone and Fitbit, we've been seeing the market really explode on the wearable side. Also, especially on the Hearables side, now with a lot more Bluetooth devices coming out, they're putting batteries into headsets since they're wireless, and that's been driving a lot of additional biometrics coming into that marketplace. So if you look at device requirements as they start coming down the pipe from a lot of the manufacturers, obviously designed for comfort and function have always been critical. A lot of user experiences coming in, communications obviously with other devices. Activity tracking was last year's big adder to all wearable devices, and the new thing coming in is biometrics. And we're kind of getting into the second generation of biometrics. So the first generation was very much, let's track your heart rate. The second generation is, now what can I do with that type of information? So we're seeing a lot of people coming in asking for advanced assessments based off of heart rate data and other tracked biometrics like distance and step rate. So people are looking for like energy expenditure, how well was my workout, what type of recoveries am I going to need after a workout. Also not just a cardio workout, but a gym workout. And then also for lifestyle, being able to take those advanced assessments and go beyond the 10,000 steps. What do I really need to do? What am I going to do from a okay, it looks like the line was locked. Sorry for the audio line was locked. It looks like it is unlocked now, and a lot of people are dialing in. Okay. Sorry for that for people that just joined. It looks like there was some issues with the audio line. Can people hear me now online? Okay, looks like a lot of people are dialing in right now. Sorry about that. It sounded like the audio line was blocked. I'll give a few more seconds for people to dial in. And sorry, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit here in the beginning for those that were on before. I don't know what happened with the line. Okay. Cool. Looks like people are chiming in that they are now getting online. Wait a few more seconds, a few more people dialing in. Okay. Sorry, and welcome to Valencel's webinar, Raising the Bar for Biometric Wearable Sensor Systems. Just a quick brief, what I was just talking about was the overall market growth. So despite the woes that we've been seeing from Fitbit and Jawbone, we've been also seeing the market really grow with extremely good average growth rates over this last year and this year so far. The market is growing. We're seeing a lot more players coming into the marketplace. So once you get outside the big five, you're seeing actually a substantially larger growth rate in the lower volume guys in the marketplace. I'm not going to say tier 2 because there's a lot of tier 1 guys in there that are kind of entering that marketplace now. We're also seeing biometrics being added to a lot of devices now. Like I was saying, last generation devices were activity trackers. Now they're adding biometrics to that. So we're seeing a lot of additional devices coming into the market with biometrics into it. So now with the addition of biometrics, and we're kind of getting into the second generation of biometrics, we're starting to see a lot of advanced assessments come down, things like energy expenditure, how much recovery time do I need after a workout from a lifestyle type event. We're taking a step from the 10,000 steps to a target of more of a how should my cardio be around workouts? How much elevated time do I need for my heart throughout a week versus trying to get just 10,000 steps a day. So American Heart Association has the recommendations out there for the different cardio workouts. So you're seeing people starting to take that and try to put it into a 0 to 100 or 0 to 10 type metric, and take that and do a more of an assessment over how well you worked out over the week versus the 10,000 steps that was initially done with the activity tracking stuff. So we're seeing good growth in the wearables market. We're seeing biometrics coming in, and right now we're seeing the hot button being the advanced assessments beyond that. So taking a look kind of at the ecosystem here, you really have the foundation core for all of this being IP, but you really have a sensor solution that's able to turn around and take that information and take the information that is gleaming from your biometrics. So we have a solution that's been well tested throughout the 10 years that we've been around, and have thousands of test points on that. And turn around and take that and be able to take all the product designs that are available out in the marketplace, the validation testing and the manufacturing, and then being able to put in a turnkey solution into the marketplace that will allow people to have very accurate biometrics that are able to drive these advanced assessments. So one of the big things is if the biometric data isn't accurate, you're going to have assessments that are going to be substantially farther off from what they really should be showing a person. So the being able to have that whole ecosystem from the sensor all the way through to the marketplace is critical. Taking a look at kind of from the form factor standpoint, sensors are pretty flexible. We see them in obviously wrist-worn devices. We see them in now coming on strong in the hearable side of the market. But just because they're in wearables and hearables doesn't mean that's the only spot they can be located. So we're starting to see some more stuff come in on computers and cell phones to try to round out that ecosystem with some biometric data, being able to hook up to things like health apps on devices. The other big area where we're starting to see a lot of people looking at them is alternative spots on the body. Things like VR goggles measuring in the forehead, swim goggles measuring at the temple. Clothing, smart clothing is gaining traction, trying to measure different locations throughout the body. The other areas that we're seeing are like on the chest, upper arm. Those type of areas are getting good traction in the marketplace today also. So really, the areas that the marketing areas that these devices are getting into consumers' hands. Obviously, the consumer fitness and wearable space, that was the first to explode. That growth rate is continuing still very, very strong. You're starting to see a lot more personal health wearables. So beyond lifestyle type modes, you're seeing wearables monitor certain aspects of daily life. Everything from like asthma, COPD, diabetes, not blood glucose, but trying to register your heart rate throughout the day when you're doing your daily activities. Also trying to take a look at other areas like cardiac patients that are being watched, people that are being, before they're getting admitted to the hospital for like a surgery, or even after they are discharged from the hospital, the 30-day window that hospitals have that they really don't want people to come back into the hospital for reasons. So they're actually trying to monitor their patients after they leave for better care. You see it in military first responders and industrial safety. these type of applications, everybody wears some type of earbud, so being able to put biometrics in those earbuds will allow for constant monitoring of those people's vitals while they're doing very strenuous activities in first responders and military or industrial safety type applications. And then gaming and VR. So that's a new one that's starting to come up. So I'll dig a little bit deeper into these different market verticals. So consumer fitness, I think this is the one that most of you guys know pretty well. This is one area that was first to actually take the charge in the biometrics. So obviously running, biking, cardio events they've always had a use case for this. So basically people or athletes, both professional and people that just go out and want to be healthy, have worn chest straps to measure their heart rate. So in order to remove that chest strap, they had to figure out a way to measure their heart rate elsewhere. So all of a sudden you start getting form factors in the wrist and the upper arm and the ear. On top of that, you start seeing people where you actually have a location where you can keep a lot of data on a bike, like in the biking computer. So you see people putting out ANT Plus type devices for biometrics, like in an upper arm band or in an ear module to measure heart rate. You also see it around CrossFit gyms. And when you go to locations like that, you get a lot of hand and wrist motion, which is very bad for wrist-type devices. So that type of motion, if you have a measurement elsewhere, would be ideal. So the upper arm actually works pretty well there. Also, a lot of people wear headsets when they go to the gym, so ear is a good spot to measure biometrics for activities like that. And then swimming. Swimming's a big one that we see out there that people are trying to find a good way to measure swimming. The big issue with swimming is you got water resistance, so that will help push a device around. You get a lot more motion in the device, so being able to find a good location to be able to measure your vitals while swimming is one of the areas that we've seen a lot of people working on. And another one is people like taking their phone when they go for a run. So we've actually seen a couple of form factors come out with use cases around being able just to slide a puck into a carrier that you put your phone in, and that puck is tight against your skin in the upper arm. So it's a very good spot to measure. It's something that you're already wearing, so it's not like you have to add anything new to it. And of course, your phone's right there, so you get all your GPS and data from that standpoint. You can use a third-party app, or they can make their own app. But that use case is very compelling. You run around a park and you see lots of people with their phones with them, and that makes for a very good compelling use case. So next we start getting into into personal health and medical side of devices. So we're seeing a lot of traction here for people looking at how to differentiate on the personal health side of the wearables. We're starting to see things like HRV as being a new item to look at. So what that is basically just your heart rate variability. So beat to beat, your heart actually varies by milliseconds. So being able to take those milliseconds and string them together, you can tell how stressed somebody is by measuring their HRV, and there's a lot of other additional information that can be gleaned out of that type of data. So you're seeing a lot more medical or advanced personal health type assessments coming from that. Another big one is blood pressure. You can actually glean blood pressure from your PPG signal. So being able to take that information and have a consumer device that's actually medical grade and not have to put on a blood pressure cuff and be able, inflate it and basically spend 2-3 minutes taking your blood pressure. You'll be able to put your finger over a sensor and be able to tell what your blood pressure is. So that's another important metric and use case that we're starting to see in the market a little bit more. Also here we see asthma, COPD attack detection. These type of devices, when you start getting into some more advanced assessments, when you have the accuracy that's that we can glean out of that, you're able to get forewarning that an asthma attack is coming or that respiratory rate is about to run into some issues. So being able to do that type of detection is a use case that we're seeing on the marketplace a little bit more nowadays. Health plan and medical compliance monitoring. This is to help doctors be able to take more than just the 5 minutes that they're with you in a doctor's office and actually have more information. So if anybody needed some, long-term heart rate monitoring, a doctor's worried about your stress level or your heart rate running high, or even just basically, thinking that you might have an acute issue with your heart, you can now monitor that for a long period of time without having to be in a hospital and having it being monitored by a nurse and a very expensive piece of equipment. You can actually get it measured now with a wearable. So that's another one. Clinical trials. One thing with clinical trials is they want to collect as much data as possible, but they want it all to be accurate and to be known good information. So things like you're taking medication, a new drug medication, being able to watch your heart rate, 5 minutes after you take the drug, half hour after you take the drug, an hour after you take the drug. Compare that to what it was 5 minutes or 15 minutes before you took the drug. That's able to be done now with wearables. So tons of information that can be gleaned for clinical trials off of wearables. Another big one that's coming up that's becoming very popular is sleep, and not necessarily not necessarily just am I sleeping, how well did I sleep, but things like sleep disorders, what stage of sleep I was in. A lot of times you can just use your accelerometer data to tell, hey, the person's not moving, they're either asleep or they're not moving, or you can figure out that they're actually resting at that point in time. But you add the biometrics heart rate to that, and you'll be able to tell what sleep stage they're in, how active they are when they're sleeping. So being able to do that and pick up things like sleep disorders, that's new with wearables. Also, stress detection, as I mentioned, you can glean from RRI data or HRV data, how stressed the person is, and you're able to tell, that they need to either relax or breathe or calm down. Also, we've seen a couple devices come out where they actually want you to go through a controlled breathing event, and then you can tell how relaxed you are after the controlled breathing event by measuring this type of information. So that's real big use cases that are starting to come down the pipe on the personal health and wearable side of things. Next up, military first responders, industrial safety. So we're starting to see a lot of interest from military and industrial grade devices that really just want to measure somebody's vitals. So we're talking like workers on an oil rig, workers down in a mine, being able just to track their vitals and make sure everything's okay in high stress jobs like that is something that is starting to be requested out there. So we're starting to see companies like Honeywell pick up and really focus some development effort behind these type of devices. First responders also is another big one. So you're starting to see things like first responders, being able to measure their vitals when they're fighting fires or riding an ambulance. So you're able to start taking a look at things like that for first responders. And then, of course, military, tracking our military, especially in some of the more elite units, being able to put biometrics on those guys just to, track their vitals while they're in a combat situation is something that we're starting to see a little bit of pickup from also. Gaming, VR, AR. So this is something new to the marketplace. So we're actually just starting to see this pick up. This is a little bit, as anybody that's in the gaming industry knows, this is always chicken and egg type of game. Don't want to develop a game if you don't have the input. You don't want to develop the input if there's not a game to use that input. So we're kind of in that, both sides are trying to feel it out. But we've had a couple big companies interested in putting biometrics into VR goggles for a couple different use cases, gaming being a big one. If you think about like Star Wars, if you're trying to use the Force, having to relax and have your heart rate down below a certain level before you can actually use the Force. Another one that came up that's very interesting is pain management. So being able to measure your heart rate while they're shining relaxing images into a VR headset to be able to try to manage pain. That's starting to get some traction out there. So you're starting to see this pick up a little bit more on in this area. It's new technology meshing with fairly new technology. So it's out there. It's starting to get some legs. So we're starting to see some pick up here. So just a quick plug on the Balancel benchmark sensor system. So this is the, for Balancel, we have a go-to-market strategy of selling our hardware. And really this is a sensor system along with a PerformTech MCU, which is running our algorithms. Both were designed to work well with each other. So on the MCU side of things, it basically is just a standard MCU that already has our algorithms pre-canned on it. And it communicates directly with our sensor solutions, which, as you can see here on the right-hand side, we have two different ear solutions. And then on the wrist side, we have two different wrist solutions. We have a 3 LED version, which is actually a fully encompassed version for the wrist. So it actually has the MCU on device. And then we have a 2 LED version, which does not have the MCU on the device. And that the MCU would be have to be placed on a motherboard. But these are proven devices. We've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours testing these devices. In cases of BW 1.2 and the BE 2.0, probably thousands and thousands of hours. We have lots of data points on it. So all of these are well-tested products. We've gone through, we have many different protocols that we put them through, everything from biking, running, outdoors, indoors, even gym, CrossFit, circuit training. So we know how well these work, how well these behave in the marketplace, and they're turnkey solutions also. So very little firmware development around how to actually extract the heart rate. We actually give you the heart rate, so it's just a matter of pulling the heart rate from our device and then using it as you see fit. It helps accelerate your time to market. We have support documentation in terms of how to actually design your device around it to have a good heart rate measuring device. It's turnkey. Our team here has developed 50 plus different biometric devices, multiple spots on the body, ear and wrist being the two big ones, but obviously upper arm, chest, forehead, temple, different areas where you can stick the sensor. So we've been doing this for quite a while, so we have quite a bit of history here. And then the other big thing is we have a robust roadmap, so we're always innovating, and we're innovating across the board. So everything from our algorithms being updated, the hardware being updated, the assessments and the what our device measures being updated. So that roadmap just basically drives our entire development cycle, so we're able to give out better and better product. Of course, the MCUs are fully upgradable. There's a bootloader on them, so we can just push you a file of our update algorithms, and you can update the MCU fairly easily. So taking a look a little bit at our assessment roadmap. So this is the way we roadmap our products. This is what's available today. On the left side is actually what we measure. So we measure continuous heart rate, we measure resting RRI, VO2, we measure your cadence. We have an accelerometer on our device, cycling cadence, and then total steps and pace and distance. We measure actually on the device. And then what we actually can calculate from that actually on our device is which is very unique to us, we measure signal quality. So if you put on a device that's powered by Balancel, the firmware can actually detect when we actually grab your heart rate. So you'll see devices sometimes that take a while to hone in. You can actually not broadcast heart rate until the quality factor reaches a certain level, in which case say, hey, I'm confident I have the heart rate now, so now I'm going to broadcast that number. So it keeps people from having this, you'll see the heart rate kind of slowly drift up to where the actual heart rate is, drift up or down. And here you can actually just have it just start when you actually get the heart rate. We do off-skin detection, so out of ear, off wrist. So you're able to take our device and just power it down when we say we're off of the skin. We pass on the raw accelerometer data, so as long as we're powered on, we can just pass around the accelerometer data, so you don't need to put an additional accelerometer in your device. And then we also do activity identification. Today it's rest, walking, running, sprinting. We're adding cycling to this in the next year or so. So that metric will grow in terms of just knowledge of what you're actually doing. And then we also have white papers and publications, and we're in the process of combining all this to app notes of these assessments that you can quickly derive from what we measure. So things like heart rate zone, cardiac efficiency, heart rate recovery, resting heart rate, VO2 max, and core body temperature estimate, all that from heart rate. And then from RRI, you can measure heart rate variability, exercise guidance, and weekly training effect. So all those assessments will tell you how to actually create either in your app or on your device. We have white papers around them and app notes on how to actually turn around and drive that type of assessment. So that's the presentation that I had. So I'm going to unmute the lines for any questions. If you're not talking, if you can keep your line muted, that would be appreciated, so that it doesn't add noise to the background.
The conference has been unmuted.
Any questions? Anybody? Okay. Excellent. I appreciate everybody's time. If you have anything specific, here's my contact information. Hello?
Okay, I got a last-minute meeting that just came up today that we're going to want to serve lunch out. So I'm going to want to order, like, the tray and everything like we normally do. Is that possible? Yes.
I think somebody's talking in the background and not talking to me.
The conference has been muted.
Somebody was asking, how do I see a sensor patch used in defense applications? So we've had a lot of conversation with companies that are looking at doing sensor patches. Very interesting use case. A lot of them looking for a specific period of time. One of them being hospital discharge. So basically the patch would last about 30 days, and then afterwards be able to take it off and throw it away. How do I see it being used in defense applications? We haven't actually had any contacts with military that's actually looking to do it from a patch standpoint. A lot of times we see it from the ear, but a patch, just like anything else, can be used to monitor a person's vitals that's out in the field or out in a combat situation. Where you can actually have a reusable device that can either button on or clip on to a patch that's then sticky that gets put onto the chest. One thing with our sensor, with any type of light sensor, is hair can be an issue. So areas where there's a lot of hair, we obviously can't shine light through items like that. So making sure that you're in an area where hair is thin is critical for any type of patch application. Developments for power for cycling, similar to Cyclops. You're looking for like power meter type applications. That's always been it's always been an additional type of sensor that we've seen on bikes from that standpoint. Usually in the sometimes in the rim, most time in the pedal or in the armature to the pedal. You're seeing like stress meters to be able to measure power. we can measure how well the workout affected your biometrics. So that's one of the big things, is trying to be able to make a health assessment around a fitness workout to try to compare a running workout to a swimming workout to a cycling workout. So you've seen like energy expenditure is one of those metrics where you're trying to figure out what type of energy was expended on a run versus cycling, so you can actually compare them together. We haven't seen too much around power, like a power meter on the cycling side of things. That usually is an additional measurement sensor beyond the biometric side of things. But being able to say, hey, I went for a run and it was an equal amount of effort burned in that run as I did when I went out, for like a 3-mile run versus a 15-mile bike ride. Trying to come up with the equivalency between those two in terms of a workout. That's one of the big things that people are working on, and that's more of an energy expenditure side of measurement. So, any other questions, concerns? Okay. Anything else comes up, please feel free to email or call me. Also, I think the webinar will be placed out on YouTube for everybody to view at a later date. Excellent. Thank you all very much, and have a good day.